Hello, everyone. Welcome back for an episode of Get a Load of This trucking podcast, driven by Valley Trucking Insurance. As always, your host, Cameron Pechia, founder of Valley Trucking and this podcast. Today, I'm pumped. We've got an awesome guest coming on, and the product that they are providing to the trucking industry is super cool. I think that it's something that I think has maybe been done a little bit or attempted to be done, but with your guys' technology and an app-based solution and stuff, I think it's amazing, which we'll dive into. So with us today, I've got Stacey Steen. She comes to us from vHub. Stacey, how are you? I'm doing so good. Thanks for hopping in with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's my
Yeah, for sure. And you're coming out of Montreal.
I am. It's starting to get cold over here, but warming up this week, so we'll see what happens in the next few weeks. But it's starting to get cold.
Do you guys have snow?
We do. We do. We got some snow last week. Now it's getting warmer, so it'll probably melt. But that whole
Okay.
changing of temperatures, we get the snow, we get the rain, we get the cold. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, and I'm up in Spokane, and it seems like we got snow beginning. Gosh, it was like the first week of November, and then we got this cold snap, a couple snows, and then a cold snap, and like snow's been on the ground ever since. It hasn't left. We haven't got any more, and it's supposed to warm up and snow again, and then kind of fluctuate from there. But I think we're in winter here anyway. So
I think so too. It's okay. A couple of months, and then we're back to spring, and then summer. Just gotta get through it.
I know. Yep. I didn't know you guys have summer up there.
We do. We do. We have all four seasons.
I'm
All
joking.
four.
It's funny. People from the South have never seen snow. Like you go to Florida or Mexico or somewhere like that, and they have no idea what snow is. Like they don't even
Well,
have the
I don't
slightest
know.
clue.
So, exactly. Some people don't. So we have all four seasons, which it's great because you get to. It's great for a little while when winter starts, and then you're like, "Hey, I'm over this. Like, I'm ready for spring."
Right. Awesome. So I'd love to hear a little bit about yourself. What is your background? And then how did you land with vHub? And then we can dive into the amazing things that you guys are doing.
All right. Well, my background, so I've probably been in the transport industry for 8 years now. So I actually started at Ryder Truck Rental, where I started on the rental counter. I was there for probably 3, 4 years. I was then the rental manager for Quebec, and then rental manager for Eastern Canada, and then I was the operations manager for a branch in Quebec. So I spent 8 years there, and it's been a year or so I've been with vHub. So left Ryder after 7 years, came over to vHub, and the rest is history. So, freight, I'm so used to working with trucks and the power units and the 26-foot trucks, the small trucks, all that kind of stuff. So vHub was different. It's mostly trailers, and the freight, that's new to me. Still learning. There's a lot to learn in freight. So, but it's fun. It's fun. Transportation. I started 8 years ago, and I've been here ever since. Fun industry, and it keeps you on your toes.
That's cool. Now, how did you land at Ryder? Was it just out of school, or did you know somebody in the trucking and transportation and it's like that seemed like a good career path, or how'd you land on that?
So I was actually studying to be a cop. That's
Okay.
So school here, I was in a program called Police Technology. So I was studying to be a cop,
Cool.
and I was always very active. So I played a ton of sports, always have. And when I finished that program, I was probably 21, and I was like, I'm way too young to be, in my opinion, I was like, I'm way too young to be a cop right now. I need more life experience. But also in the back of my mind, I was like, I want to get a bachelor's degree in something, because if something were to ever happen to me, and with all the sports I play, anything like that, I need a backup plan, right? If for some reason I can't forego or can't pass those physical testings. So that's when I went back. Well, I went to school. I took a year and a half off of school, went to school in university, and that's when I started working at Ryder. And I was actually approached by one of my old coaches from one of the sports I played, who had started at Ryder, hired me, and I was going to school full time. I was working full time and loved it. I loved Ryder. I loved working there, and I just stuck through it. So it was very exhausting. It was tiring. School full time or work full time, going to work, then going straight to school 3-4 times a week. It was something else, but that's kind of how I got into the transportation industry. I had no idea what Ryder was. I had no idea. I guess my coach knew my work ethic, was like, I want you on board. I was like, all right, let's see what this is about, and fell in love with the transportation industry, loved what I was doing, and then, stayed there ever since. So my police career, I was like, you know what, I love it. So ended up not becoming a police officer, and now I'm here in the transportation industry.
I think the transportation industry is grateful for that. They're going to be blessed to have you. And it's no doubt you wanted an interesting career, I would say, because trucking and transportation, you come across all different types of people, walks of life, and like experiences and circumstances. What's one thing that, like, when you're on the counter, that stands out to you that was either crazy or far out there, or was like, holy shit, I'm in the transportation industry now? What's one thing that you can think back on that kind of surprised you?
Honestly, I don't. That's a loaded question. There are so many things, right? It was just. I think it was just it being unpredictable. You have to be, and like when I started in the transportation industry, it's like you have to be resourceful. So it's like you have one of your customers who their truck breaks down. They have a contract with you that they're supposed to get a replacement truck or trailer, whatever it is. It's like, okay, well, you don't have anything in your yard. You don't have anything available in your inventory. So it's like you have to be resourceful. You have to find a way to, find a solution for this customer. So your shift, or at the time, your shift finishes at 3:30. Your shift finishes at 5. You don't have that solution. You're not leaving there until you find that solution. So
I love it. Yeah. How, yeah, that wouldn't be very good. You're like, all right, I'm out. I'll clock out. I'll see you in the morning. Like that would piss some people off. Plus, cause they're waiting. They're trying to make money and run their business. So they're depending on that solution to come through. I love that answer too, because what I do, and this is kind of one of the first things I tell my sales folks when I hire them and people that are coming into my organization, it's not about like the resources you have. It is to an extent, but it's how resourceful you are with what you've got, right? And it's like, how can you think critically, problem solve, and become that solution person for whoever you're dealing with? And I think that is the essence of a good customer service salesperson, just good person to know anyway. Awesome. I think that's great. I think it's given you, which I think it's you're seeking life experience, and I think you're getting that for sure.
Sure. And even you grow professionally and personally, right? It's like it helps you with your everyday life. It's like, even though you have to be resourceful about the job, it's the same thing in your personal life. Okay, well, I got this. I'm going to find a solution either way, regardless of what the situation is.
Right. Let's chat a little bit about vHub, because until I heard of you guys, actually from the Freight Coach, which is how I got the introduction to you guys. And for those, go over and give Chris Jolly a listen, the Freight Coach. He has a daily show, reads, dissects topics, industry topics, trends, things that are problems like the parking and availability for showers for truckers and all these kind of things. He's shedding light on all this stuff. So go give my man a follow and a listen. That's a shout out for him. Shameless plug there. But anyways, let's chat about vHub, because you guys work with him. I know he's a huge supporter of what you guys do. To me, as an entrepreneur and like in sales and dealing with trucking and trying to be that solutions person and connector, vHub's awesome. Like I heard about you guys, what you guys are doing. I'm like, that's brilliant. Like it's such, and I don't want to say it's a simple idea, because that's not what I mean, but like, it's such like wow, what a great idea. Like what a good idea to just get people additional revenues, get things moved, which is what the transportation and trucking industry does anyway. So let's go over vHub. So at a high level view, what does vHub do? Who is vHub? Where do you guys fit in the marketplace? And then we could talk about the fun stuff.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, vHub is kind of, So there's two parts to this answer. So we are actually currently building what we're calling vHub 2.0. So right now, internally, it has been released internally for testing like purposes. It's being released to alpha customers to test it out. We're testing it internally. So the vHub 1.0 and the vHub 2.0 is going to be released probably mid-December to the beta customers or the beta users. It's two different things. So in 2019, that's when vHub came about, was introduced, and it was really to find a solution for, carriers, shippers, whatever out there to increase profitability. So you have assets idling, sitting in your yard, that aren't being used. You are still paying for that. They are still depreciating. So why not make extra profit and either rent those trailers out? And then came about repositioning. So there is, a need for trailers going, let's say, from the OEM up to whatever the customer, or even just internally with customers, right? So let's bring that into there and try that out. So we did that. And then came paid repositioning. So it's like, okay, well, if they're on the platform and a carrier has a need, why, and the owner needs to get it moved, they're going to pay someone regardless. Well, then let's throw that in there. So that's kind of where it started. And now with vHub 2.0, now it's going to be a lot more automated. So vHub is really a tool it's to re-engineer like flexible capacity solutions. So, offering rentals, loadouts, repositionings, that's what it's all about. It's going to be automated, and it's going to be, analyzing with vHub 2.0 and its automation. It's going to offer, analyzing routes, available assets, costs, and timelines. It's all going to be on this platform. So it's going to pretty much do the work for you. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have trailer A in Arkansas that needs to go up to Spokane, and then it's going to collect trailers to the freight. It's going to show you your dead mileage. It's going to show you the cost per mile. So we are very excited for that. Very, very excited, because vHub already, the idea of it, what was launched in 2019 was already a great idea. And now we're just taking it to a whole other level.
I think that's cool because it's educating the business owner, right? The carrier, shipper, whoever's, I guess, moving the asset in this case. And like part of being a business owner, as you had mentioned, profit is knowing your numbers, right? Understanding your P&L, understanding the depreciation, as you mentioned, which I love that you guys touch on. And it's like, yeah, if you do need to move an OEM product, before you'd either have to find a power only unit, or fly, or get someone down there. Now there's probably somebody in the area that's like, hey, I've got a load I got to pick up. I think the thing that I heard from maybe Chris was mentioning, not only do you get paid to move that trailer, let's say it's a reefer or dry van or a flatbed or whatever, doesn't matter. We'll just go dry van in this case. But then you have a load that you need to do for dry van, general freight. You can actually pick the trailer up, get paid to move it, load it with the load, and then get paid to move that load as well. So you're I don't want to say double dipping, but you're maximizing profits in this case.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You're so getting awesome. The load that you're already, picking up, you're getting paid to move that trailer. So you're getting paid for your load, you're getting paid to move the trailer, and obviously there are timelines, right? So the asset owner who needs that trailer moved, they need it moved for a reason. So they may give you 14 days, they may give you 31 days. But as long as you get that trailer there within the 31 days or the 14 days or the time allotted by the asset owner, you're just making additional revenue for either yourself, your company, to offset maintenance costs, whatever it may be. That's what we're here for. That's the tool that, asset owners, brokers, carriers, whoever it may be, can use to just maximize their profits.
I think that's great. And it's, I mean, most people are probably going to say, "Oh, it's the Uber of trailers," but really, it's the Airbnb.
That's so funny.
From
That's so
my
funny
understanding,
that.
right? Because
That's how I explain it for people who aren't in transport. I'm like, how can I explain this? I'm like, okay, Airbnb, but for trailers, for
yes,
transportation. So all my friends, family, I'm like,
yeah,
this is what it is.
yeah, but because that's what it is, and like vHub is the platform. It's a tech-based product. It's the application. It's the connector, and you guys will build this database, no doubt. And then you got 2 points of customers, I guess, users, but then you got people that want to participate.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. And so how does one go about becoming a user? Let's focus on that part first. And then what does the onboarding process look like? Where does one go? What is the, what can they expect when they're looking at this of like, oh, that's a great idea. Just bought a new truck. I don't really own a trailer yet. So right now I'm doing, trailer interchange or whatever, but this could be added as a weapon in their arsenal. So what does that look like signing up?
So with it's going to be different moving forward, and that's what we're still trying to figure out is how we're going to do this. Is it going to be requesting a demo with team members? Is it going to be videos? So the onboarding process for the future is still being, I guess, we're trying to configure that. But right now, let's say someone were to come on and they say, you know what, I visited vHub. I want to know more about this. So right now, myself and my coworker, Adrian, we're the ones who are onboarding any new members. And they just log into so as soon as someone creates a vHub account, Adrian and we monitor that. And that's when we reach out to the new user and say, hey, we want to learn more about your business. We want to know what your needs are. We want to know how vHub could be a tool for you, because it's different for depending on how you want to use vHub as a tool. So if you're an asset owner, okay, well then great. Is it to rent your trailers? Is it to reposition your trailers? It could be both. If you're joining as a broker, it's different. If you're joining as a carrier, it's different, right? So we get to know the new user. We want to know about your business, what it is, where you mostly do where your routes are. Is it in the Northeast, Middle East? We want to know all that. So we're currently right now, it's a manual process where Adrian and I are both there. We're reaching out. Then once that's done, we set up a demo and we show each user, okay, how it works, what we pinpoint exactly what they're going to need. As like, let's say they're joining as an asset owner. Okay, well, this is what you're going to do. This is what you really want to know, but we also show the overall functionality of the platform. With vHub 2.0, it probably is going to be more automated in that sense. And the onboarding process, there is still going to be that human contact because it's important, right? You want to get to know who you're working with. It's always going to be important. So there definitely is going to be that, but it's going to be easier for people in the sense of, you know what, I'm way too busy. I can't do it during normal working hours. So I'm going to take a look at this demo, this video, and then go from there. If I have any questions, call, then I'll reach out to the appropriate person. So it's quite simple. You just right now you're logging onto the platform, creating an account, and then someone contacts that user and says, we want to get to know you. How can we help you? How can vHub be a tool for you? Yeah.
Cool. And then do you guys provide like a monthly, I guess, summary, if you will, or Excel sheet for P&L just for earnings and stuff like that? Or how do you guys feedback reports and generate income reports and stuff back to the users?
So right now, with vHub 1.0, that is not available. However, vHub 2.0, that's what we're going to have. We're going to have a database for those users where they can go in. It's on their dashboard when they log in. They're going to have access to those reports and the essential, I guess, costs or losses, the profit and losses of how vHub did help or where we can improve. So, hey, this lane, I paid way too much, or vice versa. Well, they'll have that at their disposal to be able to go through it and say, okay, this is great. This is what's not working. This is what is working. This is what we need to improve on. Take that report, compare it to their own report internally at their company. So that will be available with vHub 2.0. Yeah.
Cool. And I, from my industry, I'm a specialist in transportation and risk, and so insurance, right? What do you guys do for the compliance portion to ensure that the carriers that are actually picking up these trailers have the proper insurance in place, protections in place? And then what does vHub protect for the user?
So vHub is a tool, right? So what the way we're going to protect, I guess, the user, regardless if it's the asset owner or the renter, is we're going to have carrier validation in vHub 2.0. So what'll happen is the way it's being built right now, or is built, and we're testing it out, is carriers will have to, or whoever it is, will have to upload their proof of insurance, and that will automate in our system. And let's say we have an asset owner who says, you know what, I need 60,000 minimum of coverage. If a carrier who's interested in that repositioning does not have that coverage, they will not be able to reserve that trailer for repositioning. So whatever let's say the renter, the carrier, they inputted their insurance into the system and it does not match what the owner needs or it requires, they will not be able to reserve that trailer. They will not be able to reposition that trailer because their insurance is not adequate with what the asset owner needs. So,
Perfect. And that's all in the system then. So it's easy to use. It's user friendly, easy, where the asset owner doesn't have to think about it. Whoever's applying is vetted because they've submitted the proper and adequate coverages and insurance and everything to satisfy that, so they can kind of, and I guess some people will even take it a step further and verify themselves as well, but they could rest assured there's at least a couple steps.
And, and asset owners, there are some carriers that they won't want to work with. So if that's the case, you don't have to work with them.
Red flag.
Exactly. You vet the carriers. If you don't want this carrier reserving your trailer, you can go ahead and red flag. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. I think it's great too. And it puts the power and the control into the asset owner's hands, right? And I think that, and you guys probably even have some folks, I think it's a good play. I had a gentleman on our podcast, probably a year ago or something like that, where his idea was to just purchase a lot of trailers and do something similar, but like just rent trailers out. Because it was an easy to maintain asset. It was a lower cost asset. They are expensive though, especially when you get to higher end or refrigeration or stuff like that. They become very expensive, but what a good idea. How has the growth been, I guess, this last year and the years prior? Like, how are you guys starting to grow with momentum and users? And you're North America, correct? Or is it US and Canada, or what's your footprint?
North America, so US, Canada. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And how has the user adoption been and the growth been this last year?
This last year, it's been great. When I joined, it's been a year, but since I've been here at the beginning of last October, so October 2021, there wasn't as much, I don't know if you want to say demand, because I feel like demand is always out there, but there wasn't as much activity. Now with the marketing we've done and, just the what we're going to be already, vHub as a tool was great, but what we're going to be bringing in the next couple of weeks is going to be a game changer for the transportation industry. So it's now within this past year, the growth, there has been growth, but I don't even know how to say this. Like, I think that next year it's gonna really we're gonna be up there. That growth is going to, and what you said before, the power is honestly, that's what it is. It's vHub is a tool. So the power is always in the asset owners. It's always the asset owner's power, in the sense of, if you want to put a trailer on there for $100 a day, a dry van trailer, you can. That is your decision. It's still your asset. It is your decision of how much you want to pay to get a trailer repositioned, how much you want to add your assets on there for rental. And obviously, like, we will let you know, hey, okay, for this lane, it's a little bit low. I don't know if you're going to get much traction on that for that price. Like, we're going to be there. We're going to help you through it. We're going to coach and say, hey, this is what you think. But, at the end of the day, it is still the asset owner's decision of, you know what? No, I want to rent it out for $100 a day. I want to put it on the platform rental. I'm talking about now. I want to put this trailer on the platform for $100 a day. If it gets rented, great. If it doesn't, well, I'm okay with that. So the power is in the asset owner's hands, right? So we're just a tool. We're just here to, help facilitate and just increase your profitability and make sure that, your trailers aren't just sitting, your 50 trailers aren't just sitting in your yard just depreciating. At least you can, if it's your low season, put them on the platform. It might be high season for someone else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about trucking, right? Is It's always moving, right? I mean, there is seasonality, I guess, with selective with different owner ops and companies that choose to have downtime. I think that's great. That's the beauty of owning your own business, your own truck and stuff like that. Others are based on harvest, right? Yeah. So they're subjective to what the harvest is going to offer. But really, everything else needs to move. Goods need to move. Amazon needs to move. We're coming up on Christmas, year end. Usually there's a little bit of a dip beginning of the year for certain segments, but that doesn't mean it shuts down. So, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's such a good idea. And obviously there's a ton that's coming into the new release. I can feel that and feel the passion that you guys have and the excitement surrounding that. So I'm excited to see that roll out and see that progress and see the enhancements made there. Because obviously you guys know the user interface and the ease of use, and it just makes it more user friendly and people will adapt and pick it up a lot easier. So what are some of the big key takeaways for the new release, and what's on the horizon for this next year as well?
So key takeaways I would say for the new release is, it's like you just said, it's going to be very user friendly. Being in the transportation industry, I've only been in the transportation industry for 8 years, but I mean, technology is not huge in the transportation industry, right? It's something right. that we're evolving, we have to adapt to. But that was one of our main, just what we wanted was for it to be user friendly. So for someone who, is not really comfortable using an iPhone or an Android or whatever it may be, it's we want to make it as easy as possible, right? Being in the transportation industry, we have so much else going on. And when I was a rental manager and when I was an operations manager, it's okay, I have all these things I have to take care of. And let's say I had vHub as a tool, but it wasn't user friendly. Well, you know what? I don't want to take care of it. I don't want to have to deal with that. So that was our mindset is we want it to be user friendly. We want it to be a platform that you do not have to hire an additional person to take care of, let's say, your asset relocations or whatever it may be. We're here for that. We are here. Instead of hiring someone to do that internally in your company, use vHub. It's a lot easier. Yes, there is a little bit of management that is needed, but other than that, it kind of just does the job for you itself, right? So, and on the horizon, we're expecting a lot of traction in the next coming months. Once the vHub 2.0 is released, I can't wait for that day for everyone. But once it's released, I think the ball is just going to kind of keep rolling, and then it's just going to momentum is just going to pick up, and it's just going to be there. And yes, there is going to be trial where people are going to probably join and they're going to want to try it out and see how it works. And you know what? Once it's released, I encourage you, or all shippers, carriers, brokers, join, see how it goes, and we'll always be there. I will always be there to help you throughout the way, help you with the process, and we're just very excited.
What I love too is you guys are focused on the user in a couple different ways. One's education, which I think is so huge. You sell and you adopt users by educating, right? Because an educated consumer is a smart consumer. They can run more profitably, more lean. You're giving them time back, so you don't have to hire someone. You can bring it to somebody that either already runs their operations, logistics, a manager, whoever, or the owner, or a lot of folks are husband and wife team, but it's something that you could bring in house easily with minimal amount of time. So I think that that's a huge asset. I'll be pushing it. I'm going to be a fan and promoting this to my clients just as an alternative and an additional source of revenues. And as far as the insurance coverage goes, there's different structures and ways that I can advise my clients to set it up to make this a safe and a lucrative proposition for them. So I think that it's great. And as far as like the actual carriers go that are picking it up, that's easy. We just got to make sure we've got the either non-owned trailer or interchange or Bailey, whatever the coverage type that is requested for this, and make sure we have adequate limits and stuff on there. So I think that's super cool. I'm excited. I think I'm going to love watching the growth and watching how you guys kind of spread and take off. And no doubt that's going to happen. Hopefully you got some commission tied with that, because you're going to be a huge driving force of that, because you know what I mean? So
honestly, it's been in the works for a while, and we've just seen it. Like we've been internally, it's like there's so much involvement, right? Like especially with, I'm customer experience coordinator, so all the little things that weren't user friendly, they would come to me. I'd have, members, brokers, carriers being, Stacey, I need help. Stacey, this is not working. Stacey, this. So it's like, it's just like all that, as much as it's negative feedback, it's also constructive criticism, right? It's like, okay, this is what this person told me. Yeah. This is what we need to do better. So as much as it was like crappy to hear at the time, it's like we use that feedback, negative, positive, to just make this tool so much better. So that's what excites me the most, is that all this feedback that we've had from our users, like, Stacey, this isn't working. Stacey, can we do this? Can we integrate this? Can we implement this? It's like, let's do it. Let's see what we can do. We have a great team who's been working on this for the past, I don't even know how many months now. And I'm just excited to see it roll out. Like, yes, we're playing with it internally, but just to see it live and on, I'm happy.
Yeah, and that's the beauty and benefit of being nimble and somewhat technology based. There's challenges and obstacles. It's not, a lot of people think, oh, you can just add a button and do this. It's there's a lot more to it on the tech side of things, right? And the automation and that. But you'll take the feedback. I think that's great. And people actually get a voice, they get a listen. And if it's a true enhancement, well, that's why you guys are getting version 2.0, right? You got the 1.0, 2.0, and you guys are progressing. And my guess is you're not going to just do 2.0 and be done, right? You're going to always build, constantly give back. The coaching, I think, is awesome. And then the lane averages, it's such a simple thing. And, the load boards and some of those companies do that as well. Hey, here's our average that it's running at the moment for certain lanes, things like that. But that could take someone that maybe is getting in this as a strict investment proposition where they buy trailers, or a company's going out of business or retiring or whatever is happening. You can buy some trailers, put it in there. You might not even be super savvy on cost and lanes and like what the actual cost might be, but that's where you guys come in. Hey, this is what you got. This is your assets. Here's where you're wanting to run that you're telling us. Here's what we see. This is like market average. This is where you guys can be successful. Yeah. I think that's awesome. That's super valuable.
It is.
For anybody.
It's rate per mile, and it's okay. Well, if it's just a loadout, and so a loadout, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know this, but loadout on our platform means that you can load the trailer, you can load the empty trailer that the asset owner made available on the platform. Whereas we also have the option of a tow away. So if we have a trailer that the asset owner is brand new, they don't want anyone loading it. Let's say a tanker, for example, they don't want it loaded. They want it just to go from A to B. Then we have that option as well, right? Mm-hmm. So rate per mile, that all it changes, and that's what we're here to educate our users about. Is like, okay, great, and like you said, okay, for this lane you can maybe go a little bit lower, but for this lane I would suggest going lower than this because of the circumstances right now. And it's that's what we're here for. That's what we're promoting is education. We just want to be an asset, a tool for the transportation industry. So, yeah.
What was the original? So the founders are like, when vHub was born, what was the like motivation? Was it entrepreneurial, or was it like problem solving, or was it like there was something that happened that triggered this to be like, there's an idea, here's a thought, I'm going to put this in action, and boom, we got vHub. What do you know
I'm
that?
not sure, but I think it was a bit of both. It's entrepreneurial and just problem solving. It's like there's a need in the industry, and let's try to do this, right? And like at the beginning, it was mainly like a rental marketplace, and then as you said before, like vHub 2.0 is not just going to be the end of it. We're just going to keep progressing, right? So at the beginning in 2019, the main, I guess the way it was envisioned was like, okay, this is going to be a rental marketplace for, idle assets that owners could add. And then slowly it was like, okay, repositionings. And then we're like, well, paid repositioning. So it was like a continuous, like, this is the need. And we're just like going to keep feeding it and see what, and it's just, but how it started, I don't have that answer, but I just came up.
Oh, you're good. No, and I
could have used this before.
Yeah. And the excitement's refreshing too, because and people should be excited. These are the type of things which is why we created this podcast, was to feature and highlight and bring to light, or just give attention to either people, folks, products, companies that are doing things to innovate, that are changing, that are progressing the transportation and trucking industry, that are, and my job hopefully is to educate and give people ideas and shed the light on stuff like this, because a lot of people probably haven't heard of vHub unless they're actively engaged on social or listening to shows or potentially a podcast and stuff like that, right? And so that was my mission. So I love this. This is perfect. This is exactly why I'm doing what we're doing, which I think is amazing. So one of the questions I ask, because we are trucking and transportation, and this is more a little bit old school, but folks had CB handles. If you had a CB handle, like what's a nickname for you, or like a potential CB handle if you needed one?
Oh my goodness. I guess it depends on who you ask. I'm kidding. Kind of.
Okay, go with your favorite.
I don't know. Oh my goodness. Like related to vHub or?
It doesn't matter. It could be anything. It's just for fun.
I mean, I've gone, let's say related to vHub, I've gone the queen of vHub. Like you mentioned before, Chris.
There we go. I think
he calls me Ronda Rousey. So I get Ronda sometimes.
Perfect. There you go. That's a good one.
Sometimes, but that's a good question. I don't even know. I don't know. You'd have to ask people who work with me.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, and that's a good one. We get a range because you get some folks that actually had CB handles, so there's always a good conversation surrounding that. So I think that's awesome. Now, are you a goal planning type? Because we're coming into the end of the year, which is funny because most people associate end of the year with goal planning for next year, which I actually do as well. I'll go through creation of goals and review of goals, review the year and stuff like that. But what do you do? Because you seem very well organized, highly motivated. You're able to do a lot because you're in school and sports and working and sales and you got all that stuff. How do you stay organized?
I guess it's just prioritizing. So I am an organized. Okay. I like being organized. If I'm not organized, I feel just very out of tune. But with me going to school, with me working full time and trying to maintain, professional or personal relationships, it was just prioritizing things and just making sure that I have that work-life balance and all that kind of stuff. But I think that when I think too much into the future, like too far ahead, I kind of stresses me out a little bit. So I'm like, you know what? I kind of have, I have these, I guess, short-term goals that, I'll be like, okay, this is my goal. Let's say this week, this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to do. Let's do it. It's kind of like to-do lists. And I'm just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what I want. And obviously I do have long-term goals, right? Both professionally and personally. But in the terms of like I guess for my organization, I'm like, hey, I have like my weekly, just like mini goals that I'm going to get through, that I'm going to achieve. And if I don't, then like I'll figure out how to do it. But yeah, it's, I guess it's like just mini weekly goals that I have, and then you have your monthly ones. But that's kind of how
I think it's no, I think it's good. The reason I ask is just because that's kind of what I was on at the moment and getting my salespeople to do and focus on. And I encourage any business owner or anybody really. I think it's good to have goals, ambitions, dreams for personal, business, health, whatever that is, right? You kind of create it. It's your life, but like have that roadmap. There's a reason maps were created and to get from somewhere to where you want to go. And I think having those mini goals are great. It's like steps in the ladder, right? Rungs in the ladder to get to the top. So you got to do the small steps to get to the top. So I think that that's awesome. So that's why I asked that. It's just kind of just something that I'm focused on at the moment. So I appreciate you sharing that. What's one thing that you would share with the users or folks if you had a billboard and like, hey, this is my like favorite quote. This is like what I want to get out there. This is like what I would love to share with the world. What would be one phrase, quote, something that you like? Or that moves you. And it could have been something you heard or lived by, or like I've got, I get a quote. I actually have a quote on the background of my computer that's basically lack of consistency is the subtle but sure stealer of dreams, right? Because like if you're not consistent with what you do, you'll never achieve what you set out to do. So it's just consistency for me.
I kind of have one that's just like, for me, it's just that what I repeat, or when, I'll be like, resilience is key. So it's something that,
love it.
Just with how busy I was, and I was like, it was overwhelming. Sometimes it does get overwhelming, but it's just, reminding yourself that you have that resilience and that you're going to get yourself through it and just keep going. And there is that, like we were talking about goals, there is that goal that you're working towards and that you're going to get towards. You just, like you said, just do the mini ones before and you're going to get there. And it is going to be exhausting, but just reminding yourself that, like, just you're resilient. And that's what I tell myself. I'm like, hey, you're resilient. You're going to get this. And also one that I don't know why, but it was a quote that I found a while ago and it always stuck with me. And it was like, the trouble is you think you have time. And that for me was, both. It could work in your both professional and personal life, but it's like you have to be there in the moment because you think you have time, but like time passes so fast. Even like you don't even think about it. We're like, oh my goodness. Like I think about things from 10 years ago and I was like, how is it already like 10 years after, right? So regardless of and I guess the way I interpreted that is just be in the moment. And I guess that's why I have my mini goals, because it's like work on those and you're going to get to your further goals. So that's something that it just always stuck with me, is that like, I think we take time for granted sometimes, and it's like, use it. Like go out, spend time with your family. When you're done work, have fun at work, get to know your coworkers, be there for them. You never know what's going on. So yeah, that's one thing for me. Yeah.
I love that. Such two great statements. I absolutely love those. And it's funny because the older you get, or you ask people, right? And you ask people that you look up to or mentors and stuff. And it's usually like, hey, you have less time than you think. Like, or perspectives change, things happen that are unexpected. So I think that's awesome. Those are good. Those are good. That's why you're Ronda Rousey. Yeah. That's why you're that. No doubt. Okay, let's go. How do folks get a hold of you if they need to, or like what? It's vhubapp.com, correct? So vhubapp.com. We'll put that in the show notes and put that in the links, but you guys can do that. Do you guys have a social presence or LinkedIn or anything that folks can connect with or engage with that you want to share?
Has LinkedIn, Facebook. So if you want to connect with vHub, you can connect on LinkedIn or Facebook. If ever you want to get in touch with myself, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. You can send me a direct message. I am happy to respond. But like I said, if you are interested and you do want to register to vHub, we will also see that come through. So we will definitely reach out to you afterwards as well. But regardless, vHub has a social presence, Facebook, LinkedIn, and as I do as well. So whichever you feel more comfortable reaching out to, by all means.
Love it. I think everyone should go get a demo. I think it's even if you don't have a need now or have a need, immediate need, I think it's something to put on the radar, think about, digest, because I know a lot of folks won't take immediate action, but it's good to be educated on options and potential solutions for the next year because they're goal planning, right? How do I make more revenue with what I've currently got and become more lean and take more money home and put it in my pocket and save time? I think vHub's the answer, or one of them. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative. I'm so grateful that you took time to hop in today. I know that you're busy.
Thank you for having me, Cameron. It was great to be here.
Awesome. And as always, we got a Facebook group. Folks can find us there. Follow us on LinkedIn, valleytruckinginsurance.com. You want to get a hold of me, shoot me an email, Facebook message, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. And happy to answer any questions. And until next time, thank you.